Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I'm joined once again by Val.
Hello.
Today we are going to be casting YueJin versus AmberT in round 3 of the 5th Asia Pacific tournament. Today we are seeing Carpiquet, and on the Allied side YueJin is using the 1st Infantry, and on the Axis side AmberT is taking out the Festung Gross-Paris. So what do you think of these divisions, Val?
I think this is the first sort of pro game that I've watched that the 1st Division will actually be in it, the 1st Infantry. So I'm kind of excited to see what YueJin does with it. This is actually a map where you can probably make a lot of the really high quality early assault infantry work in this bottom side in the sort of town area, I'll call it. I mean, you do have a problem though that once you get kind of past there, I mean, there's not really, doesn't look too good when you're up against like sea-faced panthers and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think in the early game YueJin can make quite a bit of ground actually. He does have M4DDs, he's got all of the really good infantry, so yeah, the town will be pretty much no contest. The Landeschützen and Bevellongs will just get ripped apart. AmberT might opt to bring in some flamethrowers with his Landeschützen. I have seen that done before. I just kind of counteract the assault teams a little bit, but it may just be a losing battle that he might just try and avoid. But then again, M4DDs can own the airfield quite well in the early game, at least. But with the Panzerjägers, they're not really going to be enough. The B2s and stuff. I think AmberT is going to have a pretty hard time in the early game.
No, I think you're right. I think you're definitely right, and I believe his AT options aren't fantastic as well for A phase. I think they're just. Does he get any? Oh no, he does. He does get 1 pack 40, I think, in A phase, so he can use that. But either way, I am kind of expecting to see a bit of a split map almost, where we see AmberT try and push on this top side where he's kind of stronger. And if I were him, kind of just try and avoid all of this really high quality 1st Division infantry.
Yeah, so I think one thing that we will see is AmberT focus a lot on these Panzerjägers. You can see him putting them down, but it's no surprise to me really, since when I've seen him play the 352nd in the past, he loves to focus on those Panzerjägers and definitely plays around them quite a lot. The only issue with his push at the moment, and based on the unit he's got down, is there's no smoke really to support him. He's just got the Landeschützen there, the Panzerjäger, and he's got the Panhard MG with the Aufklärer, and then followed up by the Feldgendarmerie. And the Feldgendarmerie do come with smoke grenades, but whether that'll be enough, I'm not entirely sure, especially if he ends up pushing into a M4, for example. In the middle of the map, it's going to be a couple of Landeschützen for AmberT, and on the bottom side, doesn't look like he's investing too much, which is kind of what I like to see. Bevellongs can be quite good for defensive play, since they have high strength. There's also a Panzerschreck in there that might be able to ambush some vehicles, and there is some Feldgendarmerie.
I think the problem is just the range though. Like in these like orchards and the forests, and even the buildings are so close together, you're just going to get ripped apart by kind of the flamethrowers and grenade infantry you get in A phase 1st Infantry. Interestingly though, we haven't seen a DD come out yet, a Sherman DD, so this could provide a bit of an avenue for AmberT to maybe make some ground on the top with these Panzerjägers. Yeah,
for sure. If YueJin doesn't opt for that, then he will leave himself exposed to AmberT early on. But yeah, AmberT on this bottom side, there is a way to sort of manage the ranged engagements. If YueJin sort of neglects his own smoke, then maybe he could just play off the buildings that are just that little bit longer than 100 meters away from each other, and therefore sort of stay out the flamethrower range. There's definitely a way to get around it. Obviously, he can also bring in some vehicles of his own, and he has placed down a Puma at the moment that's going to be moving into that town, so it could help him pin some of that infantry.
This is something to note as well. The 1st Infantry, I think, is probably quite notorious now for having, I think, their only recons are recon plane in A phase, isn't it? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And so having that Puma there, if he can keep it away from the sort of anti-tank bazooka squads, of which, don't get me wrong, the 1st Infantry has some of the best anti-tank infantry in the game, I think. But if you can keep it at a decent range, you can spot a lot of them in the kind of orchard cover and maybe do some damage that way.
Yeah, on this top side, YueJin has opted to go for an AT gun and an M7DD at the start. The M7DD could put a lot of pressure onto the Panzerjägers actually, so that could still be a problem for AmberT. Couple of assault teams heading up to this top side, though. Actually, there'll probably be assault MGs going to those hangars into the town. We have the assault teams, probably some assault breaches in there as well, just to try and get those grenades in at close range. But we'll have to wait and see exactly how the engagements go, but I don't expect it's going to go well for AmberT in the town, at least. Not straight away.
No, I agree with you, yeah. I mean, he's playing as I'd expect. He's trying to put some kind of defensive lines in and see kind of wherever he can try and get the best range advantage on these flamethrowers and assault breaches. But in this top side, I mean, it really does favour YueJin, I feel, because he gets the hangars first. He's had a fantastic stroke of accuracy with that M1 gun, and really kind of a nice start for him, but I think this is what we expect anyway, so we'll see how it goes later into the game.
Yeah, so YueJin using smoke with his assault breaches in the bottom side at the moment to breach the gap between himself and the Beverons. Then he's going to be able to get the grenades onto the Beverons. AmberT might micro them out quickly if he notices, but he does not, so he does let them get surrendered. The flamethrowers have come up with the assault team. That's going to force the Puma back. The Beverons are coming under fire there, and it's interesting. These Gendarmerie are there, but I mean, they're not really helping these Beverons very much. They're just getting routed and run away. Like, the Beverons won't be surrendering for the time being, but they're certainly taking a lot of damage, that's for sure. And there won't be much left to defend the command squad itself shortly.
Yeah, not a good look, really, I think. It's what we expected, don't get me wrong. I think AmberT really has to sort of start planning for the B and C phase, especially B, where he might not get access to all the armor he wants, but he gets a big point boost over YueJin.
Yeah, so assault teams on the top side, again, they're just going 2v1 against the Beverons and Landishus, and it's quite a dangerous place for AmberT to be, actually, since the assault teams, they can basically surrender both of those squads, since there's no command on that side of the town. I think AmberT has done a decent job, though, of just sort of falling back with his forces for the time being, but YueJin just being constantly oppressive with his own smoke to make sure that he is covered as he advances, doesn't want to walk into line of sight with this Puma. Although saying that, the assault bazooka does the job, or the assault leader, sorry. They do have 2 bazookas, which is absolutely crazy for like a leader unit. So,
well, yeah,
short work.
Two-star bazookas, 200-meter range, you know. When I said earlier that 1st Infantry has one of the best anti-tank rosters of infantry, I wasn't kidding. They have some fantastic anti-tank infantry, and this is going to be real painful until we get a bit further on in the game for AmberT.
Yeah, he's just got to preserve his units, I think, at the moment, and try and take the most cost-efficient trades that he can. He did lose the Landishus on the top side, but yeah, just trying to find kills where he can is all he can do right now. There is an M4DD coming into this airfield, and that's going to make things difficult for the Panzerjägers. The M7DD will also be trying to move into range at some point as well, and that will help suppress those vehicles. Now the Feldgendarmerie on the bottom side, they have been caught and are pinned down, and that is not good for AmberT. He wants to keep those alive, otherwise it kind of leaves his other units very exposed to surrender as YueJin continues to advance.
Yeah, this is going to look really, it's going to start looking even worse when this DD comes onto the bottom side as well. The B2, you know, it's like we said earlier, the Shermans, especially this Command M4, really, really good at close range.
Yeah, so an IG-18 being brought in by AmberT just to maybe help some engagements towards the top side of this town, but once again, YueJin, perfect use of the smoke, just uses it to sort of close the range onto the Beverons, and we'll be able to push them out of that building. The Feldgendarmerie do get down on the bottom side as well, and these Beverons are going to find themselves cut off if YueJin just starts running towards them with the assault breaches here. Maybe the IG-18 will be in time. I kind of like the addition of this B2, but on the top side the Beverons are going to be surrendered. This B2 could definitely help with or against the assault MGs and the breaches, maybe even the assault team, but the assault leader is heading its way.
It is heading its way, and the B2 unfortunately You know, a good choice for this scenario, but still not going to match up to this DD and real risk of getting killed by the assault leaders. I think right now AmberT is doing the right thing. He's just trying to get some units to hold YueJin at range if he can. Because obviously with the way this map sort of works out, once YueJin takes the edge of this forest and maybe some of the hangars, there's not really anywhere else he can go. I mean, if he works out with the DDs and he does very well with them, then he can push, but otherwise, running these, like, are very, well, not that expensive, but running these really high quality infantry across open fields doesn't tend to work out very well.
Yeah, so he wouldn't really have much to cover him, and there's always opportunity for like AT ambushes the further you get into the open, and that's something that YueJin is not really going to want to have to deal with. So yeah, we'll have to see exactly how these M4s do, because I think that will dictate what happens next, really, especially with the assault leaders going down there in their attempt to kill the B2. So that's going to leave YueJin without any sort of AT infantry left on this bottom side.
Oh no, YueJin, please don't scout with the M4. Oh, he's done it before. Oh, the Panzerschreck's going to kill it.
Ammo storage.
Oh, ammo storage.
204 is going to be engaging at close range. The M4 is just going to be getting involved. Panzerschreck kills it with a second shot. The trouble is, he's got to, right? That he doesn't have any recon. I mean, he guessed he could have pushed forwards with the assault breaches or something, but they were pinned down by the fire.
I think he just shouldn't have gone there. I think he should have gone to try and deal with the B2 with the DD. Yeah, oh, that sucks. Possibly. I do feel that YueJin, he is a very, very good player, and he's got some fantastic micro. But he does seem to get maybe a little bit cavalier with his tanks sometimes, and we've seen quite a few times where he's ended up on the sort of bad end of those Panzerschrecks.
Yeah, and now the M2A1 howitzer trying to take that Panzerschreck out of the equation, but a little bit too late. M4DD is going to be engaging the Panhard MG just below the airfield. I think these Panzerjägers, though, are going to be looking for an engagement shortly. Going to be creeping up, trying to get as close as they can, maybe try and find the overwhelming shots there with their AP ammunition. M7 does kill the Panhard MG on the top side, which was a nice kill. But for this bottom side, it's now 2 assault bazookas with the assault, or just the mortar there with the 2-star veterancy. Going to be trying to assist YueJin in kind of maintaining this town, because it's currently looking like there's not too much down here anymore, and the Panzerjägers in the meantime are definitely doing a lot of damage to this M4, or at least forcing it back for the time being.
I think he's probably very happy, YueJin, that he's got this M7 here, because that saved his M4 for sure. I mean, he's brought in 2 of the I can't remember the name of them, but the assault bazooka squads.
Yeah.
But I'm not convinced that's what he needs right now. Don't get me wrong, I think he should have at least one of them, but maybe an investment in a bit more infantry might be what I would like to see from him here.
Yeah, he definitely needs just some more high health squads that can assist him, because although the assault bazookas, they do, you know, have a reasonable amount of HE, it's not anything near what you're used to with like a 4-man squad. Like they don't have Thompsons, they just have M1 carbines. So instead of it being 12 HE, it's only 4. Their veterancy does help with that, but it's just they're still not going to match up very well against Bevelong spam, or even Landesschützen spam for that matter.
That's true, but I do like the choice of getting this 81mm mortar as well. The
yeah,
First Infantry does get the 2-star 81mm as well as these 105s in A phase. So if he uses that right, he can probably stun off a lot of the enemy infantry before it actually gets into, you know, man-to-man combat range.
Although saying that, it looks like he's going to be relying on these P38 Lightnings. Uses a couple of them to just strafe to death one of the squads of Bevelongs. And the LEFH-16 has come in on the side of AmberT. That's going to be looking to counter battery this M2A1. And I can't help but think that M2A1 is just a little bit too close to that front line here. There is no way that that should really be counter batteried by this LEFH, since it outranges it by 500 meters, or at least it should.
Yeah, I would like to see it kind of move further back. At this point, though, it probably takes so long to move back. I'm not sure exactly how worth it it'd be.
Yeah, I don't think he can move it now, but just not deploying it there in the first place would probably be the better option. But But maybe he was considering that he would control more of the town still, but it's certainly fallen away from him, and he's only maintaining a +1 at the moment when I think it possibly could be a +2. But a nice surrender there onto some infantry onto the top side. There's going to be some landers shoots and gotten rid of. I wonder if he can make some ground on this top area though. I'm surprised that he's not being more aggressive, like the assault MGs for example, on that top side is supported by the M4 and the M7, because currently they just kind of seem like they've not done too much. It's quite a considerable amount of points invested into those two units, and I feel like they could have pushed more.
I feel like YueJin has to be very careful here, because in a situation like this, you sit down and think, okay, I've got a +1, I've got a decent hold in this bottom side town, but people really don't appreciate kind of the income difference. So 35 points more a tick for AmberT is a hell of a lot of points. But also, once we get to C phase, AmberT is going to have so much more pushing power, especially in this top side. So I don't think a +1 is enough, to be honest, at this point.
Yeah, neither do I. But the M2A1 howitzer, that's going to be coming down onto the LEF-H16. We do see that there is an S307 pack coming in towards this airfield, and I really, really like this unit. I think with the some veterancy nearby, like if he brought over the Feldgendarmerie or something, these would be really, really good. The 3-star veterancy, just one-shotting the M7 and the M4 from out of range. Nothing can really fire back at the S307 pack, other than maybe the M1 gun on the top side, but that would be up to the Aufklärer to spot that. So AmberT has the tools to not be ambushed by AT, and therefore could possibly make it happen. He's also brought in the Flak M36 to help him with some anti-air, and now also a Hummel has been brought in. That's going to be looking to counter battery the 81mm mortar and the M2A1.
The 2-star Hummel is very formidable, so I'm expecting that to do a lot of damage, like you said, to the mortar and the howitzer, but also to soften up the infantry. I mean, this is one of the big things about any kind of high-quality infantry division like the 1st, is that, yes, now they've got access to a load of rifles and that sort of stuff, but their elite infantry is really starting to sort of wax off a bit. And especially if you can deal with a lot of the manpower of the elite infantry by artillerying them, it's a really efficient way to deal with that problem.
Yeah, what's interesting with YueJin's assault bazookas here is actually deactivated the ability for them to use their M1 carbines. So if they bump into this Bevelongs, there's going to be nothing there for them to defend themselves unless YueJin sort of remembers to turn it back on. These P38 Lightnings, one thing that's really interesting about these Flak M36s, they are almost the perfect choice to deal with YueJin's Air Force for the rest of the game. I always say how with the 1st Infantry, the Lightnings can be very effective early on, but as soon as there is any substantial amount of AA, they just become completely useless, because due to them being so fragile, they get pinned down very quickly, and that's only like 1 or even 2 shots from the M36s needed to find or to force them to fall back. S307 pack is looking for the engagement with the M7. Might end up in range of the M1 gun at some point, but I think AmberT's done well to bring that down to the bottom side of the airfield for the time being.
He has. This M1 gun could cause some problems for it, but equally we could even see the Hummel might be in range to fire on that from where it is, considering how small the map is. So that could be a nice way for AmberT to try and avoid this very long range AT piece.
Yeah, that's the M5 gun now come in. Could present some issues to the S307 pack, but of course, yeah, like you mentioned, the Hummel should be able to pin that, although currently it's firing at this Bofors. Maybe AmberT will be looking to employ his own Air Force soon. He does, of course, have the bombers that we haven't really mentioned yet, and those could come in handy breaking through some of the elite infantry in the town now that he has more infantry availability in Phase B.
Yeah, I think it's the Ju-87s, aren't they? They're 150 points and they drop some ridiculous amount of little HE bombs, and they're really, really annoying. They did get a nerf a while ago, but you know, they're still a very, very good option in my opinion for dealing with stuff like these large clusters of infantry.
Yeah, just the ability to pin units down and quickly surrender them is always a nice thing. especially considering AmberT does have the SBW-204 on this bottom side and could make good use of that to punish a lot of the infantry that YueJin has here. More infantry is on the way, the LAFH coming under counter battery from the M2A1 again. I might end up dismounting some of these infantry as they drive past. That's going to be rather annoying for AmberT. Panzerjägers, I'm not really sure or convinced how useful they're going to be for the rest of the game. The IG-18 on this top side, that's just going to get hit by the M7 for the time being. Ju-188 is actually coming in for the bombing strike onto this M5 gun.
Ju-188, not the Ju-87. But yeah, look at these just ridiculous amount of bombs come down.
It's also going to stun up the rifles behind, the assault leader. IG-18 had already done a bit of damage to that M5 gun, but look at these M36s open up. I'm not sure the P-38 Lightnings are going to have enough time on target. Oh, maybe they are. The M36s just took that little bit too long to reload, but one of the Lightnings does go down in reply. And this D520, it can turn on a dime. Not going to be able to catch up with a P-38 Lightning though, so up to the M36s to just shoot that out of the sky.
Yeah, that's the problem with the M36s, and you know they're very, very similar in the way they operate to the big Flak 88s, where they do a decent amount of suppression damage, but it doesn't seem like they're very good at killing stuff, to be honest. You can get lucky with them, but I think in general, in terms of like killing potential, you're a lot better with the much higher rate of fire, kind of lower HE options.
Yeah, I think they're enough for the P-38s though, since, like I mentioned,
there might be.
The P-38s just are so fragile, but also just they take a lot of suppression. Now this M7DD is trying to engage the S307 pack up here, but that's going to get a driver wounded. And the S307 pack's going to have a second shot there to try and get on target, and we'll find it. M7DD goes down on the top side. That's quite a significant kill there for AmberT. He's now going to be engaging the M4DD from out of range. YueJin's, I think, going to start to struggle to hold on to this +1.
He definitely is. It's like we said before, kind of as the game goes on, AmberT just has more tools to sort of grasp hold of this top side. And equally in the bottom side as well, because he's trading very well and he's got a higher income as well, he can probably just attrition out this infantry in the bottom side, even if it is better.
Well, the ROA are actually pretty decent. The only squads that he really has to worry about are the assault teams, and the availability of assault teams is just very low in general. And you can see this sort of assault team on the bottom side here has actually run out of ammo entirely, so they're completely out of the picture, and now the ROA can just run at them with their submachine guns and get the job done. But the M5 gun actually comes in on this top side, pops the SG07 pack as it's trying to push across the airfield, but that's going to be replaced with the Marder 1, and I think that's going to just continue to be a problem for the 1st Infantry, because they just don't have any decent 1,200 meter range engagement tools moving like later into the game. Like there's no 1,200 meter range tanks that they have access to. It's just the M4DDs and the M4A1s. So Marders can just be used very, very much so to take advantage of that. But only 1 minute left until Phase C, and what will be interesting to me is whether or not AmberT will save for a Panther to really just seal the deal on the top side.
I think that's probably a good option. It depends though, because he can put more into the bottom side, just out attrition YueJin in the bottom as well, because he's got this Marder 1. It's not like he's lacking for like that long range AT capability on the big open top side. But if he can do something about this M5 gun, then I wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe invest a bit more into the bottom side instead of going for a Panther.
Yeah, Assault Breach is going to be going for their next kill on the top side of the town there. The ROA getting wiped out with that. I think YueJin still can pack a punch in this town if AmberT's not too careful about it, but bringing the SBW-204 and the IG-18 in a close range there is just really good use of fire support to help his infantry advance.
No, you're definitely right, and yeah, this is one of those games where I do think YueJin had to push a bit further in A phase. Now granted, obviously the game isn't over. He does have C phase, he has a bit more income. He does have a very high availability of infantry and that sort of stuff. But I think it's fair to say he's on the back foot now.
Yeah, you can see the build-up of units on the side of AmberT, and like he's got himself quite well backed up here. He's using the M36s almost like 88s, and I personally don't really like using the M36s aggressively like he is, but either way they will be able to help pin down AT guns and enemy infantry squads if they get revealed, and therefore assist the Marder 1 and the Panzerjägers in pushing forward still. IG-18 on the bottom side of the airfield at the moment, just engaging those rifles in the hangars. It is allowing the Bavarians to get the upper hand with the help of the PanHDMG. Hummel is still trying to counter battery, looking to kill this. Bofors is going to find it. Nice hit there by the Hummel.
We see actually a bit of a mix come in, because I expect him to go for Panther. He's gone for the Tiger E, which when you think about it, does make a lot of sense in this, because there's not really anything that YueJin has that can stand up to it. It's not like he's got any Fireflies. So slightly cheaper option that will have kind of the same results, and means he can probably get another squad or two of infantry, which is probably a very smart choice here.
Yeah, indeed, actually. But on the bottom side, AmberT breaking through slowly. These rifles does kill off the assault bazooka squad, which is very important actually, because it's going to allow this B2 to remain in its position and continue its fantastic fire support. There's a reason I love these tanks, and it is mostly because the amount of suppression and HE they can put down onto infantry with their machine gun, their howitzer, and obviously their main gun with the 2 HE there. Just pins down infantry so damn quickly.
It's just a really good hybrid vehicle. It's got a bit of everything. Now, it's not very good if it runs into any enemy tanks, but that's not really a problem now. We do see the Lightning come in with the 127mm rocket, so this might be able to do some damage to the Marder 1.
Yeah, it has the potential to find the kill there, but doesn't this time around. I think YueJin just sort of using that to allow the M4DD to get a safer engagement versus these Panzerjägers, and does manage to do so briefly, but those Panzerjägers just falling back out of range. U-520 was brought in to sort of stop any future P-38s. But meanwhile, this push still happening on the bottom side. Assault team still under fire and forced to fall back. Meanwhile, AmberT just continues to come in with more and more infantry, and YueJin really isn't supplementing quite in the same way. He does have plenty of rifles at his disposal, and he does now have an M4A1 coming in to help him out, which could clean up the SPW and the Panzer B2. But yeah, at the moment it's just not looking good. +1 goes in AmberT's favour, and currently it's going to be a draw based on what the game is telling us. But in this tournament, I think highest conquest points wins anyway. So
it does, but either way, I wouldn't be surprised seeing this to be quite a quick +2 here for AmberT, because there's not really anything on the top side that can stop all this armour. He's doing a nice push into the hangars with the Bavarians and some fire support. And again, you know, what's there to stop it? A M7 DD and an M7 howitzer carrier. Yeah, what are they going to do against the Tiger E?
Yeah, this Tiger is just going to have a field day here, pushing across this airfield. And on the M7, that's trying to just counter battery the LEFH at the moment. This M7DD though, what's that going to do? Maybe kill off the IG-18? But I'm not sure AmberT is particularly worried about that, since he does still have the Tiger and the Marder 1 backing him up. The M4A1 is looking for the engagement with the B2. That's going to be an internal fire for the B2. SPW-204 going to be trying to cause a bit of a distraction there, I feel. But probably just going to die. Does get bailed out.
Oh no, this M4 on the top side just got all manner of crits here. It tried to sneak around the forest and go and deal with one of the Panzerjägers one at a time, but it just came out a bit too fast and got firing line. This isn't looking very good for YueJin here, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's definitely coming under a lot of pressure. This B2 is on the bottom side as well, so maybe these M4A1s can do some work in this town, honestly. I think at close range the M4s are absolutely fantastic, so we might be able to start to deal with some of the armour that AmberT pushes his way. But with the territory now falling 56% in favour of AmberT, and this push on the top side looking quite convincing right now. I feel like that could end up being a +2 rather shortly.
It could do. I mean, these two-star Command M4A1s, like you say, they have a very, very fast turret traverse, or acquire, I believe, is the stat name. Acquire time. So, you know, very good in close range, and I would put my money on one of those against the Stug if it gets close enough. But it's just very difficult for him, I think, to get a real concerted pushback because of all of the AT infantry that AmberT's got. And again, we've seen YueJin fall foul to AT infantry and sort of scouting with his tanks. And I wonder if this M4A1 on the bottom side is going to suffer the same fate. It does stop a bit early.
Well, it's only because it's on like attack move, but yeah, it could definitely happen. If he doesn't sort of screen those M4A1s with rifles, then he could definitely be in trouble trying to push into this town, because the ROA do have the 150 meter range Faust Patron, which is really quite irritating for YueJin if he wants to make a concerted push with the M4A1. AmberT though, if he micros the Stug 3 well, might be able to engage the M4A1. He might also just go for this bombing strike as well with the Ju-188 and then push the Stug 3 to engage just afterwards, because then it's no contest really, although the B2 does go down. Stug 3 is going to be engaging the M4A1. Oh, I think both players kind of hesitated there with that engagement and stopped it from aiming. This Stug 3 is just waiting for that M4A1 to come into line of sight. Look at that.
We see a bit of a dance going on between this Lightning and the D520. I think it's fair to say who's going to win that one, with the flak M36s sort of on the job as well.
Yeah, the flak's coming in there. There's also the SDK of Z10-4 now. That's a dead Lightning indeed. On this bottom side, the Stug 3 did win against one of the M4A1s, another Ju-188 coming in to bomb the other, and beautiful use of these bombers now. Now I think I criticised, I think it was KD Laker for just bombing infantry more than he did tanks in one of his games where he was playing as a Festung. And in this case, I think it's a good demonstration of why you should bomb armor like this and then use it to gain an advantage with your vehicles, because this Stug quite right now can just kill off this M4 so easy. Again, no contest, because it's already been forced to fall back, and it's just a beautiful use of these bombers and why they are so effective and why they needed to be nerfed, because the point efficiency was just too damn much. Now it's not so bad. You don't have as many of them very often, because in a 1v1 it's hard to justify the cost. But in this case, where you basically take out two M4A1s with one Stug, that's a very nice trade indeed.
It is for sure, and this is kind of what happens when you get later on with the 1st Infantry, is you find that your amazing anti-tank infantry very rapidly become not available. So now you just see all of these rifles. He's got one rifles leader, and to be fair as well, you just have the M4A1. That's, I think it's going to suffer I'm going to start calling it the YueJin effect, I think, which is just pushing your tank far too close to the sun.
The YueJin effect. That's
the YueJin effect, yeah.
I love it. It's like being gonzoed, and now we have
the YueJin effect.
And we've also, previous to that, had War Game Syndrome.
War Game Syndrome, yeah. We've got a whole library of words now for this. Well, this is actually the opposite. This is like the complete opposite to War Game Syndrome. War Game Syndrome was where you refuse to push because you're afraid of what the enemy might have. Whereas this is, he doesn't care. He's just a madman. His tanks are expendable. All he wants is ground, but I don't think that's going to work out well for him. And this Stug 3 just so well handled here by AmberT.
Yeah, and it's definitely allowing a lot of infantry to come through here and be well supported against these rifles, which just don't really stand up very well. And with this sort of lack of infantry AT on the side of YueJin, there's nothing really to stop the Stug, because I think whenever a new M4A1 comes into line of sight and it's not in range of an ROA, a bomber's just going to come in and pin it down, and the Stug 3 is just going to keep doing that rinse and repeat for AmberT. He has found himself a +2, so now going to be securing himself a minor victory in 10 minutes. But the artillery engagements are interesting. They've continued throughout the map. I think, honestly, AmberT's losing out on the artillery engagement. I guess the Hummel can maybe bring it back for him, but it doesn't particularly matter since the ROA are just doing so well in the towns here.
These ROA are disgusting. The 12 HE on those 3 PPSHs are absolutely withering. As you can see, this poor rifle squad just didn't stand a chance. And they're 30 points as well. They're such a cheap infantry unit for the amount of capability they bring.
Yeah, they have the 1-star veteran C. You can get them the 2-star veteran C, and then 14 HE at 100-meter range is just absolutely amazing. Plus the Faust Patron is just really, really nice. So in this sort of environment, they work very, very well indeed. Jagdpanzer IV is going to be coming in for AmberT, and it seems like he uses all sorts of armor with his division here, the Festung. I don't think I've seen somebody bring in this many different forces. I think I've generally seen people, when they use the Festung, prefer one unit over the others. So some people won't bring in like this sort of AT, for example, the Jagdpanzers, because they'll rely on Panthers, for example. But in the bottom side, this Stug 3 is coming under pressure here. The M4A1 actually going to be changing its target. Really odd mechanic there in Steel Division, where when a unit gets pinned down, the vehicles will, or the unit firing will change target to make sure that everything else is pinned down before it goes for kills, which is good in some respects, but not in others. And often you need to make sure that you micro your units so they stay on targets, especially when it comes to something like a Stug 3 here, which you will definitely want to kill off. But in the meantime, AmberT losing a lot of infantry as well. Meanwhile, on the top side, Tiger E is going to pick off the M7, and this M7DD that's hiding behind the bunker probably won't be long for this world either.
It probably won't be. I've got a question what AmberT's doing with this Stug there. We just praised him for his micro, but he's just been attack moving it into the enemy for the past... oh, it's gone now. He was just attack moving it, so every time it got stunned, it would retreat, and then it just start moving back again, even though it was on full...
I think the reason that happens is just because you can't change the orders while they're falling back.
Yeah,
and it can get quite tedious to sort of stop it from continuing its previous order every time it recovers. So I think that's the main reason why it kept pushing forwards like that. And it's something you do have to watch out for in your own play for sure. But these Bevelongs, they have got right on top of the M7DD. If that M7DD fires, those Bevelongs might find themselves surrendered, yeah. The M7DD last stand. But now the Tiger E going to be engaging at M4A1. Panzerjäger also getting involved there. I don't know, things just really falling apart for YueJin in the late game here, which is to be expected. It is the 1st Infantry. They have an extremely strong Phase A, and just not enough ground was made. And AmberT is just now running away with his top side, especially killing the M7DD. Might even push him to 65%, which would be a +3. It's getting very close.
I feel like this was a really, really bad map. Possibly the worst map you could ask for if you're YueJin. Maybe Carpiquet Duelist would be a bit worse, maybe. Because he made all the ground. He almost got to the very eastern hangars, but you just can't go any further. And because of the nature of this map, you know, you need to have something to deal with these kind of really strong German armored pieces on this big open topside, and he just doesn't have anything. He's got the all the different lightnings, but it's just got to the point he just doesn't have enough. And all this infantry on the bottom side, it doesn't matter what ground it makes, because he won't be able to make as much fast enough to counteract, you know, what AmberT's making on the top side, I think.
Yeah, I like how YueJin is trying to push back here with these M4A1s assisting the rifles, but in this case, the Jagdpanzer IV going to be stopping that M4A1 in its tracks. On this top side, one of the Panzerjäger 35s did go down to the M4A1, but there is still 2 Tigers on the airfield, so that's pretty scary. There's also a Panzer IV now coming down into this town as well, and a lot of this infantry that has been pushing through and making ground is finally getting to the point where it's kind of overextending, and these 2-star Panzer Grenadiers are just ripping them to shreds. Also the Hummel coming in there to help out, and D520, that's going to probably not shoot down the P38. I think the P38 might get out of range. Yeah, didn't have.
Just a bit too fast, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing about those lightnings. They are fast, but they are fragile. Panzer IV-H is still doing damage down here, more reinforcing infantry coming in for AmberT. I think YueJin's just got very low here. He's relying on these M3 scouts now. Maybe he's just relying on recon for infantry, which is not a place you want to be in. Panzerjäger is definitely putting pressure on towards the spawn as well, which might even cut off YueJin entirely on the top side, but regardless, I don't think it's really going to matter. A 68% territory lead with a +3. AmberT has pretty much sealed the deal here.
He has, and I feel kind of really bad for YueJin here, because I feel like he was put in a position with the deck he played on the map that if you are as competent as AmberT, it's very difficult to lose that, I think. I think that the deck was stacked against him. AmberT just playing a very, very solid game. It played out the way that you'd expect it to. He loses early, and then just as time goes on, starts bringing this crushing pressure in on the top side. And even on the bottom side as well, just the combination of the Ju-188s, really, stunning up all the tanks, like you say. And later on, one of those basically stopped that big infantry push in its tracks. Just very unfortunate for YueJin, who, apart from a few YueJin effects, shall we say, played quite a good game, I think.
Yeah, so after 35 minutes and 42 seconds, AmberT is going to be victorious. That means that AmberT will be moving on to the semi-final, so congratulations to him. Commiserations to YueJin, going to be dropping down to the lower bracket. And, yeah, 3,275 kills to 2,300 losses. Very nice for AmberT. Probably wasn't that nice in the early game, though. It's interesting when we were analysing it, how much the 1st Infantry has a potential to, completely counter what the Festung has. And I'm surprised YueJin didn't necessarily make more ground. I felt like there was a lot of time when that M7 DD and the M4 DD on the top side were kind of not doing enough, when they could have probably been pushing a lot more. But I guess you can't do everything all at once. You can only be making orders on one side of the map, and I think there was just a lot of micro involved, jumping between those buildings, him dropping the smoke. It was really, really good out of YueJin, getting those assault breaches into range of the Beveragung so they could just completely annihilate them early on. But later on, it kind of fell away from him since he lost the elite infantry that he had, and more specifically the assault breaches and the assault teams, and those are the two that are crucial for winning those town engagements. Otherwise, it's kind of equal, and that's what we saw moving into the late game. Now, P38 did actually pick up 2 Ju-188 kills, which is rather spectacular. But in terms of losses, well, D520 managed to kill 2 of the P38s, and this Hummel actually did a really, really good job. It killed two of the M5 guns, M1 gun, actually 3 M5 guns, and the Bofors there. So bringing that in very soon into Phase B helped out AmberT a ton, and basically took away the threat of the M5 spam, like the M5 gun spam that the 1st Infantry really can deploy. Because they aren't exactly super expensive. They're only 100 points a piece, but they can threaten basically all of the armor that AmberT was using. But that Stug 3 micro in the town was nice. Tiger E's just rolling across the airfield, nothing to contest them. Kind of led to the victory in the end. Anything else you'd like to say?
No, just a bit unfortunate for YueJin. I think the deck and the map were against him, but it's fair play to AmberT. He played a very, very, very good game. And we'll see how he does in the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, so it was a really nice matchup, really nice game. But that's where we're going to leave it. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.